Alrighty, we're down to the top 10, people. Steady. Gotta breathe. Number 10 on the list is Peep World. Many of you are probably asking, what the hell is that? Well, I'll tell you. It's obviously an independent film done by IFC Films. And not to sound like a pretentious hipster douche, but it's a film that not many people probably saw. And I only heard of it mainly because of, thank God for YouTube, I happened to come across it, and because of this cast, I wanted to see this film. If you got Michael C. Hall, a.k.a. Dexter, Rainn Wilson, a.k.a. Dwight from The Office, and a newcomer, Ben Schwartz, he's from Parks and Recreation. For those of you who see the show, he plays the character John Ralphio. Crazy character, good stuff. So I know he's got some good comedic chops. And Sarah Silverman. We all know she's just the bitch of comedy sometimes, but she is still so hot for some reason.
There were 4 Meyerowitz children. Jack was the responsible son. Sherry was a would-be artist, actress, and singer-songwriter. Nathan, a writer, was the family's only success. And Joel was the black sheep.
You got those 4 main people, along with the great supporting cast.
Brother's on TV again.
Dad's proud of you, as long as people are patting him on the back.
Can I get a shot of something? Anything.
That was amazing.
It's just sex, Nathan.
Premature ejaculation is a common problem.
You don't come off so great in the book either.
Hello? Hey, it's Noel. How you... Jack?
We're gonna have a baby.
What? Look, I am.
And me alone.
And I had to see this film. It finally got released. I had a blind buy on Blu-ray for this. And what can I say? I fell in love with this movie. I thought it just the best way to describe this film for you guys is think Arrested Development, but with a much darker sense of humor. You have a family at each other's throats due to the success of their younger brother, played by Ben Schwartz, who writes the novel Peep World. And it dishes out all their secrets to the public. And it becomes a fucking bestseller. And all of his brothers and sisters and family, their lives are ruined by this book. It all leads up to a birthday dinner with their father, played by Ron Rifkin.
Once a year, they gathered to celebrate their father's birthday. But this year, a book came out that exposed their family's secrets.
I just want to make a toast to my fabulous son, Nate, and the great success he's having with his book, Peep World.
Pardon me if I don't toast a man who's ruined my life.
What did I do? Did I make you more unemployed?
You stabbed us all in the back, you mother...
Dysfunctional families at its finest. This is a film, if you enjoy those crazy situations that happen in regards to dysfunctional families, this is definitely a movie to check out.
All of this over a book? Got cousins that shot each other and got over it.
Failure and regret. Number 9 is Attack the Block. Another movie where, unfortunately, I did not see in theaters. I wanted to, but it did not reach my local theaters. So, I had to wait for the Blu-ray and DVD release. With that being said, I finally rented this film. I really, really like this movie. This is a small budget film with a very simple yet terrifying premise. What if aliens just invaded a random block in London? That's it. And then of course we gotta ask, you know, in invasion flicks like this, who are our heroes? What's that? They're just thugs in a gang? Teenagers. They mug the very woman that ends up trying to help them to survive throughout this film? Yeah.
He discovered a species hitherto unknown to science. He kicked his head in.
Yo, check it. More. More what? Them things. Lovely fireworks. Nah, mate, it's alien invasion.
Of course it is.
I'm killing them straight. Let's get tooled up, blood.
They're quite sweet, really, aren't they?
Either way, with that being said, yes, they are assholes in the beginning of this film. These kids, you just hate them, but to be honest, they do redeem themselves. That is the biggest plus of this film. You think they're going to be assholes, and they are. And this very woman, played by Jodie Whittaker, and the main kid of this gang, played by John Boyega, they end up having to just play the survival game against these, to quote them, werewolf gorilla type motherfuckers. That's what they call them, and that's probably the best description to give these aliens that just happen to invade their block.
We have to call the police.
You'd be better off calling the Ghostbusters, love.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, man? You got tools. Jesus, he looks about 6. I'm 9.5.
We need to get off the streets, back in the block.
These teens versus aliens. If that doesn't just excite you to see this film, as well as the practical but gory effects, which I definitely respect a lot more than CGI half the time, this was just acted well. It was just a directorial debut from Joe Cornish, along with producing credits from Edgar Wright of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Overall, this whole collaborative effort, along with a cameo or two from Nick Frost in this film, always good to see him in a film. What can I say more about this film is that it's just simple and awesome. And also, there's no cops or anything hardly in this film. No fucking federal agents trying to cover up a conspiracy. This is just simply them versus aliens. That is it. That is just the beauty of how simple and awesome this movie was. Just some kids beating on some aliens and doing their best to survive. Numero 8, people, is not the happiest film, by the way. The Beaver. This has to be one of the most original movies of the year. And I say that because even though, yes, it is a very technically depressing kind of film, I don't enjoy depression, but the fact is that this is such a good character study in that psychological aspect of depression, that makes it a good film.
Is Dad gone?
He's not gone, honey. We just agreed that it's better if we don't live together anymore.
I'm glad you kicked him out. What a loser.
This is the story of Walter Black, a hopelessly depressed individual.
It is realistic in a sense that how everyday people are affected by this. And not just the very people who are diagnosed with this disorder, but as well as the family members that are also stricken with this and trying to maybe support their family member. And in this case, the person who is unfortunately dealing with this is Mel Gibson. Many people hate the fuck out of this guy, and me personally, I don't give a shit. I mean, he's an asshole in real life, but his acting couldn't be better. And in this case, I can just look past that and just say he just gave one of his best performances of his career, dealing as a husband and father who just struggles with this disorder and isn't really in a very bad place in his life. Jodie Foster directs this film with just such great ease, and she is also great as his supporting wife, and very strained and distressed one at that. And his oldest son, played by Anton Yelchin, also very great in this role, especially when it just comes to conflict when he too doesn't know how to handle his father's depression and almost insanity when it comes down to it that Mel Gibson one day ends up finding a beaver puppet and learns to talk through it. And many people, I am not sure of the term that is used for when you use a puppet to communicate with other people when you're really closed off, but the movie explains it.
So you can see that Walter is a man who's lost all hope. But he's about to find his voice.
Bloody hell. Look at you. I'm sick. Do you want to get better? Who are you? I'm the Beaver, Walter. And I'm here to save your damn life.
And it moves on from there, which it turns out to be a good thing in the beginning, but not so much near the end. Especially when the Beaver, basically something out of a horror movie, it basically takes over Mel Gibson's life, and almost to where Mel Gibson technically doesn't exist. It's kind of disturbing, but sadly, that shit can happen to some people in real life when they do that type of therapy. I like this film because it just delved into this psychological just world and just really gave a good understanding of how people can deal with these kind of situations. And even though, yes, the puppet situation is not very common, but it's happened.
Where do we start?
We start with a good part.
Overall, I just found this movie to be very riveting, interesting, very sad, but very, just somber outlook to life. It really does give a positive, but not cliched ending, and it just shows us that sometimes life isn't alright. It can suck, but in time, if you just give life that time to heal, things will get better in the long run. And that is a very good message to portray, especially when dealing with such a very difficult disorder and so on and so forth. It is just a great film. It's not obviously you just sit down and watch it and you're just like, I feel like being depressed for a second. You know, it's not one of those movies that you can just pop in. But it is a great character study and a great psychological film. Number 7 on my list, guys, is Kung Fu Panda 2. This movie has not gotten any recognition whatsoever. It has to be one of the most underrated films of the year, as well as in the animation department. This movie didn't do very well at the box office. The only good thing that happened for this film is that it made a shit ton of money overseas. But here, it made less than the first film. That's a shame because in my perspective, when I saw this film, Jack Black and the entire cast return, and they couldn't be more perfect. And this time Jackie Chan has more than 2 lines. And then you got Gary Oldman as the villain this time around, who plays a peacock with a very, I won't spoil anything, but he is just really disturbed. It's awesome to see these characters on screen, and Jack Black being funny for once. Yes, he technically isn't on screen, but his voice and his dialogue, good stuff. I'm happy to see him back. But this time his character, Po, the lovable panda we've all come to know and love, he is going through basically a very big crisis in his life. He has the loss of identity, and he doesn't know how his life began. So that is one of the biggest plots in this film. So there's a lot going on in this film, as well as a lot going into his origins of when he was a little bitty baby panda. What can I say about this film is that it was great, but with that came a much darker storyline, which I was surprised that it went that route. But to surpass the original, that's how it did it. It had a much more serious tone, but at the same time, it never strayed from the great sense of humor it has, as well as the great kung fu action that every family can enjoy.
My fist hungers for justice. That was my fist.
And regardless of that, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I teared up. Like, I didn't fucking bawl or anything, but I did tear up, and I was just like, that hurts here a lot, kind of, maybe.
Where are the signs?
What signs? Ah! So many signs! Ah!
My old enemy. Stairs.
This has so much good coming out of it, and yet Cars 2 made more money than this. How the fuck does that happen? Why, America? What the fuck happened? Your mother... I'm sorry? Yes, I know this whole breakdown is cliched, but it's a little difficult to deal with. On my number 6 spot, guys, is Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. I really like this movie. It's just a fun but entertaining film with a great mystery involved in this whole thing. Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law perfected their chemistry as Holmes and Watson. This is an awesome bromance kind of thing going here. You know, just that undertone is there, and they acknowledge it a couple times in the film, and that's just funny. And just their chemistry, though, is spot on. And along with the newcomer, Noomi Rapace from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, she plays a gypsy woman, Simza, Holmes comes to her and tells her, you're in danger.
Cards can illuminate your future. I have a feeling you're in danger.
Actually, I prefer to read your fortune. I see your next client is here to kill you. Oh, how I've missed you, Holmes.
And then soon to realize that her brother could be soon intertwined with some very, very bad plans, which involve a possible European war due to the main villain of the film, Dr. Moriarty, played by Gerard Harris.
This is the most important case of my career. clues point in one direction.
Professor James Moriarty.
Are you sure you want to play this game? I'm afraid you'd lose.
And it's just all kinds of insanity ensues from this. A lot of really good dialogue between Moriarty and Holmes goes through. And the chess game scene, Jesus, it just really is intense stuff right there. Great visual style, especially the woods scene too in regards to the visuals. Holy shit.
Make it count.
I'm on my honeymoon!
This is yet another sequel that actually, in my book, surpasses the original film. It was a much better mystery. The action was definitely a lot more visualized and awesome looking to me, and just very entertaining, very fun, and also intriguing at the same time. Overall, I just think this is just one entertaining mystery film.